Hello everyone. For another project, specifically for an electronic load, I needed a high current ammeter that could handle 20 or 30 amps. For my project, I'll be using an electronic voltammeter. It's rated for up to 30 volts and 10 amps. Although it's advertised as a 10 amp meter, it can actually measure higher currents. It only lasts for a short time though, before it starts to get very hot. The wires, the traces on the board, and, most of all, the measuring shunt get hot. This is the large resistor here. Even after 10 seconds of operation at high current, it starts to smoke. Therefore, to ensure the voltammeter can operate for a long time at high current, the shunt needs to be replaced with a more powerful one. If anyone doesn't know what a shunt is for in an ammeter, let me explain. A shunt is a resistor with very low resistance. Here, it's only 18 milliohms. It's located in a power circuit carrying a large current. Like all conductors, there's a voltage drop across it. The voltammeter controller measures this drop, makes the necessary calculations based on the shunt resistance, and displays the reading in amperes. To enable the voltammeter to handle higher currents, the shunt needs to be made differently, with a higher power rating, but its resistance needs to be exactly the same. To create the new shunt, I'll use copper wire. But since copper's resistance is much lower than the factory resistors, the piece of copper wire will be very long, as its resistance needs to match the resistors. I need a piece of wire with a resistance of 18 milliohms. You can't simply measure such a low resistance with a multimeter. So I decided to take a different approach. I'll take a voltmeter, solder two pieces of copper wire instead of a shunt, connect a multimeter in series with it, and pass a certain current through the circuit. For example, 1 amp. The wires will become a shunt. By changing the length of the wires, I can change the shunt resistance. The current reading on the voltmeter will constantly change during the setup process. I need to make sure the readings on the voltmeter and the multimeter match. If the shunt resistance is very low, the current on the voltammeter will also be low. And if the shunt resistance is high, the current displayed on the voltmeter will also be too high. Now I need to unsolder the shunt resistor and make room for the new one. Then I soldered two pieces of copper wire to the spot where the resistor was soldered. This is not the final assembly. For now, this is just a demonstration of how to set up the device. I've assembled the circuit here, and let's see what I said earlier in practice. If the shunt isn't connected, then after applying voltage, the voltmeter and ammeter display some strange numbers. I connect the two wires anywhere convenient. Now everything displays correctly. I supply 10 volts from the power supply. I increase the current. The readings on the voltmeter and multimeter are starting to change. But only the multimeter is giving the correct reading now. I set the current to 2 amps. The LED ammeter is now showing incorrectly, only 1.5 amps. The voltage drop across the shunt is small, so I need to increase the shunt length. I'll connect the wire in a different place. Due to poor contact and slow updating of the readings, the correct numbers aren't displayed immediately. Now it's slightly over 1.85 amps. I move the wire further. Now it's too high, 2.1 amps. If I connect both wires end to end, the current will be completely incorrect, almost 2.3 amps. I need to move the wire connection back. Once I figured out roughly where to connect the wires, I took an alligator clip and clamped both ends. The multimeter and voltampere meter show roughly the same current. So that's the length I need for the new shunt. Now I'll increase the current and compare the readings. The higher the current, the greater the difference in readings. The voltammeter increases the reading slightly for every ampere. This occurs for two reasons. The first is that the voltammeter always showed inaccurate readings, even with the factory shunt. The second is due to the very high temperature coefficient of copper. As a result, at a current of 10 amperes, the difference is already significant, almost half an ampere. The positive temperature coefficient of copper means that its resistance increases as it heats up. And if the resistance of my shunt increases, the readings will also change. So to prevent the copper conductor from heating up due to high current, its cross-section must be larger, and then the ammeter readings will be accurate. But keep in mind that if you use a thicker wire, you'll need to make it longer, since the resistance of a conductor is inversely proportional to its thickness. The thicker the conductor, the lower its resistance. We need a strictly defined shunt resistance, 18 milliohms. The new shunt will look like this. I wrapped the wire around cardboard. The size turned out small, but in reality there's almost half a meter of wire here. The core diameter is 1 millimeter. To prevent the turns from shorting out, use a varnished wire. To test the shunt, I put together a small circuit. This is a power supply. It supplies 10 volts to the electronic load. The current will flow through the voltammeter and multimeter. The multimeter is set to measure 10 amps. I increase the power of the electronic load. At 1 amp, the voltammeter shows a little over 1.2. The shunt is too long. To achieve more accurate readings, it needs to be shortened. At 2 amps, the difference increases. At 3 amps, it shows 200 milliamps more. The higher the current, the greater the error. At 5 amps, the difference is already 400 milliamps. The multimeter shows 10 amps, but the voltammeter shows almost 11 amps. So, as I already said, to make the measurements more accurate, you need to measure the shunt length correctly. Now I'll try increasing the current, but first I need to remove the multimeter from the circuit. It can barely handle 10 amps, and with more current, its wires could melt. I immediately increase the current to 16 amps. The readings slowly start to increase on their own. That's a bad sign. To increase the current even more, I'll use nichrome coils. The current now reads 23.5 amps. But watch what happens next. The current doesn't stand still and starts to increase. Now I remove the nichrome coils, and it turns out that my electronic load is drawing 18 amps instead of the recommended 16. Even with this wire cross-section, the copper shunt has gotten very hot. And this is all in a short period of time. This means that to prevent the copper shunt from heating up and the ammeter readings from changing, the copper wire must be much thicker. 2 or 3 times, or even 4 times, is ideal. Then I remove the cardboard from the shunt. Perhaps it would cool better this way. It's true that without the cardboard it lost its shape a bit. But in the end, it turned out that this didn't help. Even forced cooling with a fan didn't help. After a few minutes of operation at 24 amps, the shunt heats up and the readings start to increase. If you reduce the load, the current begins to decrease as the shunt cools. The fan only helps if the current is around 15 amps. And even then, if it cools the shunt too much, the readings will become very small. This will be especially noticeable at low currents. If you remove the fan, the readings start to climb again. Overall, the idea of making a shunt out of copper turned out to be a bad one. Or rather, the idea itself is great, but the problem is that you need to select the correct wire cross-section for each current. You need to make sure the wire doesn't heat up. For small currents, you can use a thinner wire, but for high currents, like the kind I need, the shunt would be very large. Now I'll try another method. For this, I'll need an old multimeter. It has a shunt like this one. The multimeters I just showed you are rated for 10 amps. The shunt's cross-section is very small though, and it always gets noticeably hot at the maximum current of 10 amps. It's usually located on a small board like this with terminals for the probes, but sometimes it's soldered to the main board. I managed to solder the shunt to the voltammeter board like this. Now let's see what happens. I increase the power of the electronic load and compare the current on the multimeter and the voltammeter. As you can see, nothing good came of it. The actual current is 10 amps, but the voltmeter only shows 5.4 amps. This means this shunt is too short, and I need to make it twice as long. But the readings stay the same. They increase slightly, but in sync with the multimeter readings. My load is increasing the current. So to get the required voltage drop across the shunt, I need to double the shunt size. So I need another identical shunt. But that still won't solve the high current problem. After all, the shunt is only rated for 10 amps. In the end, I didn't use this shunt option for my voltmeter either. Now I'll try using thick nichrome wire. The wire diameter is 2.5 millimeters. I won't use the entire spring, of course, but I'll just use the length I need. This is what I ended up with. Nichrome can't be soldered, so I had to take a different approach. I connected two pieces of nichrome in parallel by clamping them in the terminals. I soldered the terminals to the board using small pieces of wire. I tinned these wires well to increase the cross-section. To ensure the terminal bolts didn't loosen over time, I added a little tin. I unsoldered the connector with the power wires and soldered two wires in its place, each 1.5 millimeters in diameter. If they get too hot, they can be replaced with thicker wires at any time. It's a bit bulky, but it should fit in the case I'll be using. I can't make it smaller because the nichrome breaks if bent too much. Now let's test the new shunt's capabilities. To make the experiment more accurate, I added an electronic thermometer here. Its temperature sensor is taped to a nichrome shunt. And a little behind it is a load made of nichrome wire. I'll turn it on first. Note that it consumes approximately 6.2 amps. Now I'll turn the electronic load to maximum, and the current flowing through the homemade shunt will increase. After the test, I'll turn it off, and, while the shunt is still very hot, check to see if the current drawn by these coils has changed. I turn the knob and increase the power of the electronic load. Now the total current flowing through the homemade shunt is almost 22 amps. Now I'll wait 5 minutes and see how the shunt heats up. And here I'll speed up the video 10x. Note how the shunt temperature rises. In 5 minutes, the shunt temperature reached 80 degrees. I'll reduce the load and see if the current drawn by the nichrome coils has changed. The current has increased by about 100 millivolts. I'll try adding more nichrome coils to increase the current. Now the entire load current is 24 amps, and I'll wait another 5 minutes. The shunt emits a lot of heat, causing the entire voltammeter board to heat up. The tracks on the board certainly won't melt, but the controller that controls the entire voltammeter could burn out from overheating. The shunt temperature rose to almost 93 degrees. I reduced the electronic load power and disconnected the excess nichrome coils. At the beginning of the test, these nichrome coils were consuming almost 6.3 amperes, but now, after reducing the load, it was almost 6.5. It turns out that a nichrome shunt also changes its resistance with increasing temperature, but not as much as copper. Then, to make sure that the current would return to normal after the shunt cooled, I decided to wait for it to cool. As expected, the current began to decrease as the shunt cooled, but this took a very long time, so I added a small cooler nearby. Over time, the current returned to normal. It became almost the same as it had been at the beginning. Now let's sum it up. What's the best material for making a shunt for an electronic voltammeter? A factory-made shunt from a multimeter made of an unknown material can be used. The readings don't change when heated, but it's very short. A copper shunt is readily available and can be made very quickly, but heating can significantly distort the readings. For small currents, you can use thin wire, but for large currents, you'll need not only a large cross-section, but also a very long wire. A nichrome shunt maintains its resistance best, but this is again subject to the condition that you select the correct cross-section for the current. You can't use very thin nichrome for large currents, otherwise it will overheat, and the readings will be too inaccurate. I'll use the third option for myself. It seems the most optimal, provided you have thick nichrome on hand. Finally, I'd like to add a little information about the voltmeter I came across. It has voltage adjustment, but no current adjustment, even if you solder a variable resistor into the empty space. But after studying the circuit, I realized that the current can still be adjusted slightly if you solder an additional resistor but in a completely different place. The variable resistor should be soldered here. With it, the current reading can be slightly reduced. Its resistance can be set to 10 kiloohms. If the voltmeter with the new shunt overstates the reading slightly, they can be adjusted. That's all for today. Like this and ask questions in the comments if anything is unclear. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Bye everyone.